Good morning. I'm Lori of Lori's Happy Stamps, and today I'm here to talk about the December Paper Pumpkin 2023 All the Best. This month, I am going to show you how to make all the cards plus some riffs on those cards without really using any extra supplies except for three suggestions. And the first one is the adhesive backed glitter sequins that you can use to enhance your kit. I am also going to be using basic white. I'm going to be cutting out some images using regular basic white, and I'm going to be making all of my cards with thick basic white, and it will be at 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4.25. So every card you see today will be made using thick basic white, 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4.25. The only other two things I would suggest is maybe some scrap pieces of crushed curry. That's what I used, but you could easily use the other coordinating colors, which are balmy blue and old olive or gold, or you wouldn't have to use them at all. This is definitely an add-on that you don't have to have. And then the other thing is I'm suggesting that you have a pack of basic white envelopes that are from Paper Pumpkin, the medium-sized envelopes. You can use the envelopes from the kit, certainly, but I made way more than 9 cards, and I'm going to need something to put my cards in. So to get started, just as a reminder, I always stamp off my images to begin with on a piece of basic white to see how they're stamping. And I then cover it with some packing tape, and then I use that to cover my stamps. Then I know if I'm missing one, or it's just handy. I like it, and I don't like that little flimsy piece. So that's how I use my stamps. Now to get started, we're going to be making all 3 of these cards, but then I am going to be showing you 3 additional ways to expand each of those cards. So the first card I am going to start off with is actually this card right here. And for this card, you need this base. And what I did immediately is, because all of the bases are, they have design on both sides, I turned it over and I cut it in half. So I immediately doubled my cards without doing anything else. And so my first card, I took my basic white piece and I glued the one of the pieces to the front. So I had it looking like that. Then I took my focal point and I put it together just like the kit showed. And there you have card number 1 that looks just like this card. Okay? But then I took the back half of that card and I cut it in half. So I took that card piece and I cut it to 2 1/8 by 5.5. So now I had 2 of these. And I made 2 cards. So I used the piece here, just like I showed you. I used my card base. Then I took that 2 1/8 piece by 5 1/2 and laid it on my card base. Then I took my piece of optional crushed curry and cut it at 1 3/4 by 5 1/2 and laid it on that piece. And then I stamped images with the dandelions, and I used the two dandelions because they come, two of them the same, in the kit, and well, they're not quite, one's a little bit longer stem than the other, but I laid them on the same block and stamped them together, so it made quick work of that, and I glued that down right on the crushed curry. Then I stamped my image again with the dandelions and the Hello Friend this time. And on the inside, I did a line of those dandelions. And I think it makes an adorable card. So I'll finish this one later. Okay. And now I took another card base of that same base and I cut it down, but this time I cut it down and then I cut 1/4 inch around each of the edges. I stamped those dandelions on just the edges of my basic white cardstock, and I took I did not use this piece, but I used this piece, this image, and I glued it on with dimensionals. I glued on one of the pieces of white with the gold trim. Right here, I stamped the 1,000 pieces and glued it on with dimensionals. And then I made one that looked like a hack. And so what I did is I cut these images. I stamped them and cut them. I stamped them twice with the crushed curry one time and then with the old olive, and then I fussy cut them. And I used 2 of them. So I just did that on a piece of scrap. Cut them out. I glued one flat and I glued one with dimensionals. And then to make my flag here, I only have 4 of these, and I knew I wanted to use and make a whole bunch more of these cards. So what I did is I took and cut my own out of white cardstock that is 1 1/4 by 3 1/4. And then to make the gold, I took the pieces of gold that were from the negative space, and I glued them at the top and bottom of this flag, and then trimmed them, and you got, you have a piece like this. And then what I did is I took the original flag, I lined it up with the fake flag. I used my scissors to cut up to the middle and then cut to the middle on my flag. So there you have your faux flag and your flag from the kit. I think they look great, but you doubled the amount of flags you then had. On the inside, I took those 1/4 inch pieces from the outside here and glued them right on the inside of the cards to create a fun border on the inside. And I used the gems from the kit. Okie doke. So then the next one I'm going to focus on is this card. And for that card, I actually haven't glued it down yet, but I took my card base again. And this time it has a piece that has the dandelions and a plain piece of balmy blue. I cut it in half. And I took the first half, glued it onto my card base. Now the card base is in a landscape position in the sample, but I'm not sure if I want to do it that way or if I'm going to keep all my cards vertical and do it that way. Either way, it looks fabulous. So I'm just going to leave that one for now. But then I had the other half of my card base, which is the balmy blue. And I took the balmy blue and ran it through my embossing machine with Softly Sophisticated. And I got this nice little image on my balmy blue cardstock. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But here, here's what I did with it. I took that balmy blue piece and I cut it in half again. So then I had 2 1/8 by 5 1/2 inch pieces. And it looks like this. And to make that, I took my card base again. This time I used 1,000 Good Luck Wishes, and I stamped it in balmy blue. I stamped it once with Full Strength and then a second generation to get like a shadow. And then I glued this piece onto my white cardstock. I glued my piece of crushed curry on my balmy blue, and then I took and crisscrossed my kind of medium-sized dandelions, and I did them up and down and created a pattern and then glued them right on the top there. So that's the way I made this one. And then I added some of the dandelions on the inside, and I have not added my jewels yet to this card, but that'll be easy to do. I'll either use the gems that came from the kit, or I will use those adhesive backed sequins that I really like for that card. So then I had another card base, and what I did for this card base is I cut it in half again, and then I cut the 1/4 inch all the way around, and on the inside of these I used shorter pieces then to create the inside pieces. And what did I want to show you? Oh, so for this round, you only have 4 of these, but I knew I wanted at least 8, if not more. So what I did is I took the 8th ring of the deckled circles at 3 1/4 inches, and I cut those out. But if you don't have an embossing machine, you don't have circles, then just take a piece of basic white and draw a pencil around it and cut it out. That works. So I couldn't figure out how to make the gold in a circle, so I again took a piece of the negative space gold that I cut out from my stash, and I stamped the Hello Friend, and then I glued this right on from the kit, so nothing new. And then instead of using 2 of the two of the dandelions, like this one here and here, I used one on each, and I think the cards turned out adorably. So that's the way those cards look. And then the last set of cards I want to show you are the cards that use this, the middle one. And again, I took my card base and I cut it in half. So I had two cards to play with, two pieces to play with. And what I did is I glued one onto this one, and then I will bump this up with dimensionals here and add my bling. And then I had my other piece. And so what I have done is taken and cut it in half at 2 1/8 by 5 1/2. So I have two pieces that look like this. And what I created was a card that looked like this. I wanted to have all of those darling flowers with the little sparkly gold dots show on the card. So this is how I got around doing that, using the same format. So I stamped my wishing you all the best. I cut out my piece here that will glue onto the edge. And I used my same 1 1/4 by 1 3/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of crushed curry. But this time, what I did is I laid it on as a whole piece like this. And then I kind of eyeballed where those flowers were, and I tore it away. I just simply tore it like that. So I had like an interesting edge. And then I did the same thing with the piece of white that was 1 3/8 by 5 1/2. I stamped on it, and then I kind of eyeballed where I wanted it to be, and I knew I wanted some of the crushed curry to show, so I just tore it away like that, okay, and glued it on. I think that is a really cute card, and on the inside it just has the dandelions going down. So that's the way those cards are created. And then I took another card base, I cut it in half, and by now you know I cut it in half, and I cut a 1/4 inch around each side, and I use those 1/4 inch pieces for the inside of the cards, which makes it really cute on the inside. I used those cute adhesive backed sequins this time, but you could certainly use your gems from the kit. And for this kit, for this one, the original card had two of the flowers on there, and so I only used one flower for each one, and I used one of the squares for this card. I stamped on it, bumped it up on dimensionals, but then again I only had a few of these and I wanted a whole bunch more, so what I did is I doubled my stash by cutting out that piece of negative that was still left from the kit. When I punched those out, I took a 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 piece of white and glued it on. And that's how I got this piece right here. I then even notched the edges to mimic that notched piece, which you wouldn't have to do at all. But that's how I did those cards. And adorable. So to end, I want to show you that I haven't even started with the envelopes yet, and there are only 9 envelopes, but they're so cute that if you open them up using your finger, slide down the edges, you have this cute image, you have this piece, you have a lot of white to use for your sentiments and flags if you need them. So I will be playing with those later, but I needed to make more envelopes. So I took my white envelopes and I made 15 of these to start out with. So I just stamped inked that one stamp. And then I use my old 6x6 designer series papers that match the sets of colors, and I use those for my flaps. So there's I made 5 of those. I made 5 that look like this. I made 5 that look like this, and you can see any of them look adorable with any of the cards. So then you can add them later. Okay, the last thing that I want to share with you is the reason why I made all of these cards is you have an acetate card. You have an acetate box that actually is a card holder. So for this, all you have to do is make that belly band. And I used some of the Terran tape, and I'll open that up and just cover it around here, and then it just goes up and down. But you can fill that with 3, 6, probably 4, 5, up to 6 cards and envelopes, and use them as a gift for a friend. Isn't that cute? So, darling, I hope you enjoyed this video. I sure enjoyed making it. I will see my Paper Pumpkin peeps on Friday, January 5th at 10 a.m. Pacific time to create these alternatives with you in person. Happy New Year.